I love about Gintama is Hideaki Sorachi's ability to shift gears. Sorachi is a true master when it comes to comedy, something which many who haven't even watched Gintama are aware of. But he is also a master when it comes to his writing and serious moments in Gintama. Out of all the fight scenes that I've ever watched in anime and read in manga, the Gintoki vs Takasugi fight is in my opinion the best I've ever experienced. My mind was truly blown away when I finished the episode. Not only did we see the fight which we have been waiting years for, but the mysterious and hyped up past of Gintoki was also revealed, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Even though this fight occurred in the anime now over 2 years ago, it is something that I still often rewatch, and every time I rewatch the episodes I'm just as overwhelmed and amazed as the first time I ever watched a fight in the anime. So let's first start talking about the actual fights. In the shonen genre, fights often have the tendency to give us an insight into the mindset of each opposing character. We gain an insight into the character's thought process, which in turn gives us a deeper understanding of the fight. Series such as Naruto, Hiatus X Hiatus, and My Hero Academia often take this fighting structure. The fights can be very strategic, and each opposing character is often caught in deep thought at times, and this is why many of us love shonen fights. However, Gintoki vs Takasugi has none of this. The fight is not in any way, shape or form tactical or strategic. They are in fact fighting at such an intense and quick pace that they both literally do not have enough time to even think to themselves. Or I guess you could argue that since they know each other so well, there is just no need to think or strategize. As shown by their backstory, Gintoki and Takasugi have fought each other over 500 times. They know each other inside out, their strengths, their weaknesses, their fighting styles, and what each of them is capable of. Sorachi has made each character's intentions for the other clear throughout the series. Takasugi aims to take revenge on both Edo and Gintoki for killing Shoyo, whereas Gintoki wants to put a stop to Takasugi's goal of destructing his homeland. Both of them have been waiting for this moment for years, and now that it's finally here, both characters have nothing left to do but to release all the rage which they have been holding in for one another for all these years. The choreography of the fight is sensational. I don't really even know how to describe the action that occurs in the fight. That is how speechless it made me. They are both literally evenly matched. If Gintoki kicks Takasugi, Takasugi responds with a shot to Gintoki's face. If Takasugi stabs Gintoki, Gintoki stabs him right back. When Gintoki falls on the floor, Takasugi falls. As viewers, we almost get the sense of the impossible, that it's impossible that only one of them can survive this fight. They either kill each other or someone interrupts the fight, meaning that they both live on. I guess you could say that the latter is the obvious result whereby they both survive, but what makes something which I guess you could say is predictable to unpredictable are the flashbacks. Each flashback shown has a different meaning, which therefore means that we also experience conflicting emotions, which take away our focus from the actual end result of the fight. Sorachi definitely chose an interesting and an unusual structure to the fight. All the action in real time is embedded between flashbacks of Gintoki and Takasugi's past. The past that has been built up for so long since literally the first episode of the series. It even became a gag in the anime, where they would literally begin trolling us about what it was and how it would never be revealed. The first flashback we witness is of each of them during the war. Their backs are against each other and they clearly talk to one another not just as comrades but as dear friends. Takasugi talks with the resolve that he is prepared to die to protect his master, but Gintoki instead looks at the much bigger picture. Takasugi is just as important to him as Shoyo and Katsura. If they retrieve Shoyo but at the cost of Takasugi's life, then to Gintoki everything would have been for nothing. He would have failed as a samurai. It's Gintoki's resolve to protect all his family that kind of puts us on his side as the real-time action begins, but at the same time we don't really know so far why Shoyo means so much to Takasugi. Previous scenes have shown Gintoki's relationship with Shoyo, but we have never really seen Takasugi's relationship with him, and this is the purpose of the next flashback where we jump right back in time to where it all began for Takasugi. What Takasugi craved and what he found in Shoyo was both a family and a way of life for him, his own Bushido. This flashback made me feel so much respect for Takasugi's character, but what it also did was create vast levels of anticipation for what the hell happened to change him. We all know from the courtesan arc that Shoyo got beheaded, but we don't have any details on what exactly went down at that moment. And speaking of Shoyo, what a cool guy. Even though we engage with his character in only really these 2 episodes of the series, it didn't feel like 2 episodes at all, it felt much more. This is due to the soft and slow manner in which he speaks, not to mention the peaceful background around him, and the fact that the animators even play a slow-paced soundtrack during his speech. This slow pace as a result puts emphasis on each and every single word he utters. Everything he says seems to have some sort of implicit meaning, and it is up to the characters and also us as viewers to decide whether we want to contemplate and take into action the meaning of his dialogue. Watching his scenes made me feel as if he was talking directly to me, as if I was one of his students. Another thing I love about Shoyo is how he acknowledges all his faults. He gives subtle references to his imperfections and sins. At times he almost seems uncertain about his own future. Like his students, he too is also on his own journey to discover who he is. But his journey is extremely mysterious. When his students are threatened, he becomes almost a different person. There's a change in the tone of his voice and his gaze turns cold. He even threatens to take out the government. Which gives us the feeling that this dude is some sort of overpowered monster deep down. It's this ambiguity around Shoyo's character which adds to the epicness of the flashback and the themes behind the fights. With the focus of the flashback and the fight primarily being on Takasugi, through him the focus begins to shift back to our protagonist Gintoki. In real time, Takasugi begins to reflect on the stages of his life. In his own words, the desires, the bonds, the aspirations, and then the hatred. This short scene is only 50 seconds long, but it's just so impactful. Every aspect of this short scene, be it the voice acting, the soundtrack, and the imagery, all match the descriptive words chosen by Takasugi. These 50 seconds perfectly sum up Takasugi's feelings, and it's how this mini flashback ends which gives focus to Gintoki. Whilst thinking about all his hatred, Takasugi swiftly shifts the gaze of his eyes from the already severed head of Shoyo to Gintoki. And it's this little shift in focus which always gets to me whenever I rewatch this episode. Gintoki is just standing there, standing in front and looking away from Shoyo's head. He just doesn't have the strength to turn around and look at his dead teacher. But I think he more so doesn't have the strength to turn around and look at his friends in the eye. And the fact that he's still gripping his sword makes this whole bit just so much more messed up once you find out what happens soon after. With this short scene ending with Takasugi's hatred, not only do we see the focus shift more so to Gintoki, but we see all Takasugi's rage feed even more into the fight. He manages to get Gintoki on the floor, and he just continuously punches him again and again. And what takes this moment to another level is the voice acting of Takahito Koyasu, who voices Takasugi. With every punch, Takasugi is just screaming his lungs out, releasing all his rage that he has contained within himself for so long. The animators don't hold back either, as you can see all the blood getting thrown away from Gintoki's face. This bit always makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's necessary to showcase the raw emotions of this fight as we transition to Gintoki's turn, where he responds with just as much emotion. And then we have the big reveal itself, and well, it's just too much to handle all at once. I think what made this reveal so great was how unpredictable and shocking it was, but also the tragic nature of it, which explains many of Gintoki, Katsura and Takasugi's ambiguous past dialogue in the series. Previous scenes such as when Katsura tells Takasugi that man has always endured it. He, who has the most reason to hate this world, has always endured it. And also the scene where Otase finds Gintoki alone and helpless by her husband's grave now all make proper sense. It's seriously crazy that Sorachi foreshadowed these current events so early in the series. And I also love the way in which Sorachi constructs the reveal. It's what makes it so tragically great. On one hand, we have Takasugi, who is completely overt and is appealing to Gintoki in utter desperation. Again, his voice actor does an incredible job in conveying Takasugi's trembling and despair. And on the other, we have Gintoki, who is covert, turned away from us for the majority of the reveal, even for the beheading, which highlights how his resolve is set. Unlike Takasugi, who swears revenge, Gintoki understood and respected Shoyo's wishes. Gintoki's face is finally shown when the flashback is played again straight after, as if we wanted to cry even further. And words just cannot describe the look on Gintoki's face. I mean, just look at his face, like what the actual hell, Sorachi? How could you do this to my favourite character? Like, forget this dude, it's more like this dude is right in this series. Every time I see this face of Gintoki, I feel like I'm gonna begin crying. Even if someone made this face into a meme, I think I'd still literally feel like crying. That is how powerful this one still frame is. And then we head to my favourite part of the episode, by far, in my opinion, one of the best written and most impactful inner monologues I've ever heard. Everything about it is perfect. The soundtrack played is amazing. It's so subtle, which puts emphasis on the voice and dialogue of Takasugi. An epic kind of soundtrack isn't needed here. The stunning voice acting of Takahito Koyasu is enough to showcase the raw emotions of Takasugi. The subtle soundtrack played also fits so well with the imagery appearing on screen, especially with the slow paced moving shots we see of the setting and also the almost still shots of the characters. This monologue is the first time in the series where we get a glimpse into Takasugi's true feelings deep down. It's probably the first time in a long time where he has reflected on the nature of the events from the past. His inner reflection reveals a whole load of different emotions: regrets, frustration, anger, and sadness. He begins his monologue reflecting on how weak they were. They used Shoyo's life as an excuse to live and to give themselves a purpose in life, and he has now finally come to terms with their weakness. However, straight after he becomes conflicted, he questions why Gintoki never tried to avenge their sensei's death, but ultimately why he saved them over Shoyo. It's almost as if he has convinced himself completely that they weren't meant to survive in order to rid himself of the sad reality which he can't come to terms with. And that is the fact that he would have done the same thing if he were in Gintoki's position. This is why Takasugi aims to bring Gintoki as alter ego down. He wants to take vengeance upon himself for knowing he would do the same. And Gintoki straight up tells him this. It's Gintoki's powerful words which make Takasugi realise this sad truth and reality, and he eventually says something which we all wanted to hear. I haven't been expelled yet, have I? What the actual fuck? Just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, when you thought Sorachi was finally done playing with your emotions, he just does this. Amazing. To finally end this video, I just want to say thank you to Sorachi for writing such a mind-blowing work of fiction. Thank you to Gintoki, Takasugi, and Shoyo's voice actors for showcasing each character's raw and true emotions. Thank you to the anime production crew for the beautiful animation, the amazing directing, and the great stylistic changes made. And thank you to anyone who had an input in producing these incredible manga chapters and anime episodes. And so yeah, if you like that video, please leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, there's a lot more content coming out in the future, so stay tuned.